I'm Dave Wescott, CEO of Evergreen Brands, and this is the Entrepreneurial Journey. And with me here is my favorite guest. Nobody is better than the fabulous Vince Ortiz.
Your other favorite guest.
Who was my first favorite?
No, man.
Are you saying that I say that to all my guests?
You may.
There's actually a chance that I said that.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you hear the salesman say, "I have a limited supply. They're going fast," and then they said, "And when that limited supply is out, I've got another limited supply."
It's a technique that's being used. Yeah.
It's a technique, but I want to tell you this: that I don't just think of this as a technique. You are absolutely one of my favorite guests. Vince
Thanks,
and Dave Live.
Here we are.
$1 million business ideas. This is what we talk about. And no, it's true though. It really is.
Yeah. Well, we've been through some, good times over the years.
We have been some good times and some tough times.
Oh yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, snow season. Any of y'all that plow snow, you'll know. But that also talks to attitude, right? Like, I mean, that's a great segue. Being up at 3 in the morning, rolling through the winter season, and the thing that about our winter season that's so much different from probably a lot of on the call is that because we service nationally, the storm actually never ends.
Right.
Right.
For months.
It starts in October for us, pretty much, and it doesn't typically stop snowing until April, because we serve so many different markets. So when you think about how you plan for your snow season and you plan for your business, and you think that, let's say you're in Massachusetts and you get 20 plows in a year, whatever it is, we get 20 plows in 50 different cities, all at different times. And so what we have to plan for is huge, because it doesn't stop. The storm doesn't stop. Where you get your storm is over, you recoup, you fix your equipment, you go over what worked, what didn't, you make things better, you make adjustments. We actually never get that time. The truth of the matter is that our season never, ever, ever ends. Mm-hmm. And that has a huge wear on the team, right?
It does. It's a lot of pressure. Right?
Yeah. I mean, even you personally, back in the day, your wife bought you the $5,000 recliner because there was so many days. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning every day.
Yeah.
Right. Every day, just making sure that the director of operations, old Greg, is doing his job, and that it's happening. But you'd see a snowstorm roll in from the Dakotas, and then a couple days later it's in the Midwest, and a couple of days later it's in between the Midwest and the East Coast, and then it's in the upper East Coast, and then it travels down to the lower East and towards the South, and then it seems to start back over again.
Or another one hits, right? And
I mean, it's never ending, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I want you to imagine your snow season and then multiply that by never ending. Mm-hmm. And that's what our team, works through. And the biggest thing that affects the success of that season is attitude.
Yeah. All the way around.
That's right. And you and I are like two of the most positive guys on the planet, I believe.
I agree. I mean, it's when you're stuck in the activity of that environment, I mean, it's an avalanche, right? And you have to have that right attitude.
Yeah.
To persevere, to get you through it.
But even when stuff goes wrong, I mean, your attitude is always on point.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't hit a goal, I mean, I'll tell you, Vince is a guy that has more grit. This freaking guy has more grit than anybody that I think I've ever met in my life, first of all. A lot of that comes back, maybe being a football player.
Yeah.
Hitting them guys.
It's that mentality.
That's right. Bone-crushing hits. Vince was a football player, loves to make people see snot bubbles, right? But just that positivity that you live your life with, and that grit and that determination. Like, if something didn't go right, it's like, well, here's the plan, and here's what we're going to redo, and here's how we're going to build it. And like, the thing about Vince is he always has a plan. Like, he's never going to be short of action steps to dig out of whatever issue it is. And I love that, because I think, if you're building $1 million business, if you're in $1 million, if you want that, it's like, stuff doesn't go right. Right?
Yeah.
Stuff doesn't go right every day. Like a perfectly laid plan usually has 2 or 3 errors in it.
That's
or
true.
Whether they're on your side or the other, the weather didn't go the right way, or, this, you remember we had that subcontractor that we were working with in Kansas City, and he had 3 or 4 locations and he died.
Yeah.
That like sucked, right? Because the sub passed away. Terrible for the family, oh my goodness, can't believe that happened. But we didn't even know. We didn't even get notified. And then, the site has to get started. And how do you recover from that? What's the plan? And so, that attitude that you carry with you is just awesome. And your ability to grind. So, I guess today I would love to hear just like, how do you do that, man? Where does that come from?
Well, I think it's just talking in general terms. It really begins with a belief in what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it ties back to the culture, but the belief in what our plan is.
Yeah.
Right. Belief in our culture, belief in each other, belief in what we're looking to accomplish. We're very strategic, goal oriented, and having that vision of what we're looking to achieve, that starts there. It builds a solid foundation, I think, for anybody.
It does.
Right. It's but then the attitude really comes from you as an individual being good about, before anything, you always look in the mirror first.
Totally.
Right. You look in the mirror first.
Totally.
You're always looking for solutions. You're looking for preparation, right?
Yep.
Like we've talked in the past, and specifically the snow season, it doesn't start in October for us. It starts in months prior in preparing.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And even with those best prepared plans, because it is an emergency, high volume, a lot of activity, you're going to have some issues. Like you said, things break down, issues happen. But it's that attitude that gets you through it because you have a belief. And I think that's a foundational piece.
Yeah.
A belief in your business, belief in each other, a belief in what our goals are and what our vision is to accomplish that.
Yeah. And so we're talking about belief, we're talking about culture, and then just that drive that you have outside of that, right? Mm-hmm. Like that personal commitment. Part of that's faith, right? You're a big faith guy.
Yeah.
And that helps you and your family. You're a big family guy, right? So that's super important.
Yeah. It's as easy. It's that old cliche, right? You look at the pictures in front of you. Well, that's, that drives you, right? That drives you to continue moving forward and raise that level of energy, if you
just will. Go get them, right?
That
go get themness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel the same way, because I like to say if there's negativity, just don't get around me.
Right.
Just don't even bring that into my bubble.
It's like cancer.
Let's be honest and talk about things, but don't bring that negativity in here. Right? That's no good for anybody. So that's kind of cool. Now we're going to expose ourselves a little bit here, and we're going to talk about a real life employee, a real life situation, because we're talking about building $1 million business, and I think one of the biggest killers, and you just said it best, was the cancer. Right? Mm-hmm. That bad attitude can be a cancer. And we're going to talk about a guy who was an absolute cancer to the business back, good 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah.
But
it's been a while.
But just the effect that he had on the business, just the way that he happened, and so we're going to talk about. I'm just going to share a little bit of the story with you. And then we're going to talk about it, but a negative employee can really have a downing effect on the business. Now we're going to talk about this guy, and we're just going to call him Bob. And so Bob came to work for us, and Bob was also a friend, right? He was somebody that I was friends with and thought that I knew pretty well. And Bob was brought in to be a salesperson, and he was on our sales team. And the thing about Bob was that Bob pretty much always hit his sales numbers, and a lot of times would exceed those sales numbers. So as far as like the worth or the value of the employee, like that was pretty high on that level. Because he would drive hard, he put in many hours, he worked hard, he sacrificed a lot, for himself in the business. But the flip to that was that Bob would grind on every single person that he worked with. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times embellishing stories about, maybe a client dissatisfaction or getting information to a client. A lot of, well, the team isn't going to succeed. This person, I don't believe in them. I don't trust them. Calling people out in meetings, but not in a way that's productive, just in a degrading type of way, interrogating everybody that he worked with, even if it was in regard to his bonus or his commission, just always just razzing the gals in the accounting office. Being difficult with me, being difficult with you, just really difficult. What else did I miss on the difficulty?
Just even being engaged in, you would have a meeting, or you could see just the body language, remember that, the body language, the
deep breathing.
Just would derail what the intent was of those meetings.
He didn't have that belief that you talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Or maybe he did, but he was so inherently negative in everything that he did that he just exuded that.
Right. Yeah.
And it wore on the project managers, right? Every time he had a project, he would just drill the managers, hammer them.
It was a battle.
Over and over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And the turnover that also created, because people couldn't stand to work with him, right? Mm-hmm. But he closed deals. He brought in jobs.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to build $1 million business, what do?
That's the thing, right? I mean, you're seeing what's important in sales and client, right? Yep. Bringing things to the table, but the back end of it is cancerous.
Yeah.
And whether you're a small business, let's say you're a startup and you're a franchise, for example, and you have you're bringing on people new to the business in the first month. It's not having somebody cancerous then, or having somebody in a corporate environment, where there may be 50 people and you have one person. I always believe this, that one person can impact that kind of business, or even a small business the same way.
It can destroy the business.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you didn't like being around him.
No.
You couldn't stand him.
Well, it's like what you said. It's that negativity, it kind of drags on you.
It burns you out, right?
Yeah.
It makes you not love what you're doing.
Yeah, because it takes you off the focus of what we're all here for.
That's right. And what can happen is the business is going along and you might put in plans in place and you've got lots of moving parts, and you've got accounting, and you've got operations, and you've got sales, and you've got all these different pieces of the business. You got marketing, all that. But then when one person continues to blow up every day, what does it do? It takes you off of the mission.
Yeah.
Right? And it makes that person the center focus of everything that happens. So you have turnover because people can't stand working with the person. Mm-hmm. You have lack of production inside the office just because, people don't like working with that person. And then as leaders, people look at you and say, well, why aren't you getting rid of this guy? Why are you keeping this guy around? What's going on, And I can just, I remember it in my own way, but, when it was finally enough was enough, and I believe you were in that room, let him go. I think that's how it happened. And just because it's a long time ago, and it was just like, Bob was gone. And it was immediately, you're never going to survive without me. I'm the one who brings in the money. I'm the,
It's all about him, yeah.
Right, all about that. But, the thing is that moments after that happened, it was amazing for the business. It was actually like a cloud left.
Yeah, the black cloud lifted.
I mean, it did.
Yeah.
And you know what? People were actually happier, immediately happier, right? They were absolutely more productive. Mm-hmm. It was a better place to be. And you know what? It was awesome, right?
Yeah.
And production didn't take a hit. Sales didn't even slow down at all. In fact, they increased. And productivity was way better.
Yeah.
But in your mind, as an owner or as a manager, you can get afraid, like, oh my goodness, this person is the salesperson. They're doing such a good job. They're bringing in the work. They're closing the jobs. You know, we need to close jobs. But what you find is that if they're not a part of that team, if they're not a part of that culture, if it's not cohesive, then it kind of sucks, right?
Yeah. It drags everything else down, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And the black cloud is gone, and everybody's laughing and they're joking and they're having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. All that energy that you know, it's amazing when you think back, you know, in this example, it's the energy that goes into that from everybody.
Yeah.
It's that constant energy, and it's a negative energy. And it's where you're looking to build that $1 million business, right? It talks to, and we've talked about it since then, you know, cutting the ties early.
You got to cut them early.
Right? And if there's not a fit in the culture or in what we're trying to accomplish together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You got to nip it fast, right?
Yeah.
Even in our own meetings now, even as we continue to grow, you know, you're always going to have people who are more on the negative side, you know, but you have to balance that. You have to talk to that. You have to, you know, make sure that doesn't become the focal point of the business.
Right.
Because otherwise, you know, it's all bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what do we do about that situation? And if you're you know, I mean, this thing came to a head for us, right? It came down to a blowout argument, you know, in the conference room. You know, it came down to, you know, project managers, you know, directors of operations. It just blew.
Yeah.
Right? So the lesson there, or maybe even the fail on my end, was not pulling the trigger quicker. Like I probably failed to do that in the time that I should have. And you know, the thing is that, you know, as you look back as a leader, you look back at two things and you say, you know, what could I have done better? Or did I do everything the right way? And, you know, as we learn in business, like no matter how long you're in business, you know, you always learn.
Right.
Right? But I should have done better there. I should have stepped in earlier. I should have stepped in before it became the blow up, before it became, you know, everything that it was. Even though it was so much better for the office, even though it was so much better, you know, what happened. So I guess the way that I look at it is, you know, if I'm in this situation and I know the person is negative, the first thing I want to do is, you know, we use EOS, so shout out to EOS, but we want to look at our core values, right? We really want to go through our people analyzer and we want to analyze that person based on our core values.
Yeah.
You know, how are they working with grit? How are they working with for each other? How are they working with help first?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you live all those core values. So that's awesome. But if they're not, then you're able to say, well, you know what? This is a minus here.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I'm seeing. Let's make that better. And really working to coach. But like you said, you know, if it's not going the right way, you got to get them out as soon as possible.
That's it. You know, and going back to what you're just saying, you know, what is that roadmap, you know, or what is that process? And it's first and foremost, it's that nip it in the bud, you know.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times it's saying, hey, talking to a person, saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm seeing, this is what's happening, and this is the corrective measures, and they got to follow that, right?
Yeah.
They got to be part of that, because it is that foundational piece of our culture, our core values, our mission. You know, all of us have to. Doesn't matter what we do outside these four walls. Within these four walls, we're all about that.
That's right.
You know, and we got to all, you know, be on the same page with that, and have, you know, that firm footing on that foundational piece.
That's right.
Because otherwise, I mean, you have enough of these discussions, and there's no corrective process. Then it's time to move away from each other.
You got to make that change.
Yep, absolutely.
You got to do it. And the other thing is that what you find is that the cost of that employee is actually huge.
Mm-hmm.
So just some quick numbers. You know, I picked these up from the Harvard Business Review, and but just if you lose an average employee, the cost of losing that average employee is half of their salary.
Right.
And so if you think about that, what are they making? $70,000 a year, $100,000 a year. You're losing anywhere between $35,000 and $50,000 by losing an average employee.
Mm-hmm.
If you lose a rock star, it's 2 times their salary. So you think about that cost, like, oh my goodness, $2 more an hour, or $5 more an hour, or, whatever that looks like, oh, I don't know if I can keep paying. Oh, I don't know if I can afford that. Oh, I don't know. But in reality, the cost of losing people has a huge hit to your business. If you want to grow your business, if you want to take your business to the next level, you got to keep your people. But if the attitude on the team is down, if nobody loves being where they're at, if the attitude isn't high, if it isn't flying high, if it's not where it's supposed to be, all it's going to do is drag people down.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So what I like to see and what I like to say is we got to be moving forward in the right direction. We got to make those changes quick and early. We got to have those discussions with those people on our team who are not having that attitude. And you don't know what's going on in their personal life. You don't know what's happening there. But there's a guy that I work with today, and I work with him quite a bit, and he can tend to have a really bad attitude.
Yeah.
We'll just say his name is Brian. And Brian tends to be, he's on the property, he's doing work, he does a lot of just stuff, but his attitude can get really, really raunchy. And so part of like my discussion to him as, we're working together is, and it's not to be offensive, it's just to be honest.
Yeah.
But part of it is, dude, don't bring that around me. You can tend to have a bad attitude. I need you to leave that at the door.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta leave that at home. And I was like, maybe that means you got to be fake. Maybe that means you can't be the real you. I was like, but you know what? The real you stinks. And I was like, it's not that fun to be around.
Yeah.
And for me, I need positivity. I need your mind clear. I need you focused on solutions. I need you focused on execution. And if you can't do that, or if you can't not be that person, then maybe this should be your last day.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't come back here. And his response is, well, why do you always have to go there? Why does it have to be that? And I said, because this is a business that's focused on moving forward, and every time that you have that negativity or you share that negativity, it actually affects every single person that you touch.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually bring down their mood and their mojo and their flow. And business and work and all that, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
It's even hard if you're working at McDonald's. Oh man, Cassandra didn't show up for third shift. Can anybody pick up a double? A double at McDonald's, flipping more burgers. My face is already filled with grease.
Grease of fries.
You know what I mean? I cannot get the smell of burgers off my skin. So, you think like every job, no matter where it is tough.
Right.
And there's also that uber positive guy who's just like, oh, I'm so positive, blah, blah, blah. Like that guy can get kind of annoying too. Like, right? Like we just want to hit that guy over the head, because he's too positive.
Yeah, it's like,
so some of them got to tone it down a little bit.
It's got to be real.
But we got to have those communications. And so like now we know, like when Brian's there, like, Brian's working really hard on adjusting that attitude, mm-hmm. and being positive and being on point.
That's because it's been communicated to him.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it does actually take reminders.
It does. You hit on something that I think that's really important. I think I've heard this for small business owners, startups, even people that have been in business for a while. As leaders, having that conversation is so key. Yeah. And that's a big piece of what people struggle with.
Yeah.
But remember, it's not personal, it's business.
That's right.
Sometimes people think it's personal, but we have to do this the way we've always viewed it. We talked about this years ago, is that you look at the other people in the team.
That's right.
And you're doing this. I guess this is a tip, because it's an easy way to kind of think about this. That if you're in a position of a leadership position, you just got to look at the other people around you that are living that culture, that mission.
Yep.
And if that one cancer is not doing that, then you think about them.
Right.
It's an easy way to kind of separate.
And like when we've used that term cancer a couple of times, and there's that whole slogan out there, F cancer, right? You see it all over social media. And I think that pretty much everybody on the call, or most people, know somebody who's been affected by cancer, right? Somebody. We know somebody. I had grandparents that suffered with cancer. You've had people in your life that have suffered with cancer. My own brother has a arachnid brain tumor, and it will probably take his life. And so that's a real thing in all of our lives that we all deal with. And as soon as we get a bad diagnostic from the doctor, as soon as something doesn't go right, what are we immediately doing? We're immediately doing everything we can to fight that. Right? We're doing medications. We're doing chemotherapy. We're going in there. We're cutting that out. We're trying to get it out of our body.
Right?
Because it's going to destroy us, right? We got to fight it. But it's that same thing in your business. You got to fight that cancer. You got to fight that because it's not good. It's not healthy. Your business can be destroyed by one person.
Right.
And even the negativity that can come after, or them being vindictive.
Yeah.
Right, against you, taking measurements against you because they can't let it go, because they are so negative, they're so just unhappy, and a lot of that starts in here.
Right. With themselves.
That's right. And a lot of it starts with just being grateful. It's tough to be in any situation, but I always say, I'm thankful for even the situation my brother's in. It's a terrible situation, but I'm going to be thankful for it. I'm going to be thankful that I know about it. I'm going to be thankful that we can work on solutions. I'm going to be thankful that I can talk to him on the phone. I can be thankful that I know I get to spend a few more time with him, a few more minutes with him, And so it's really hard to do that. But at the end of the day, if we lead with that thankfulness, if we lead with that positive attitude, if we lead with, that determination and that grit, it really changes the environment.
It does.
Right?
Yeah, all the way around. And allows you to make those decisions that need to happen, for sure.
It does. It does. It's a big deal. And being positive in the face of devastation or in the face of disaster is huge. And I even think about our own franchisees and our own franchise owners, and there's a couple of them. I mean, we just did the awards. We had the amazing award banquet, and one of our guys, Mark Wilson, got an amazing award, and it was the Have Grit Award. And you look at what he's been through in his business. In the beginning, oh man, really tough in the beginning, but he worked it out, and he was cruising, and he was just in love, and then doing amazing, and then a couple of rough employment issues, and then boom. Oh man, down in the doldrums a little bit. But you know what? He boosted himself back up, picked it back up, and you know what? He's doing amazing. And he's actually a leader in the system.
Right.
But he had those amazing breakthroughs, and he had that amazing grit and that amazing determination. And he's absolutely just, you see him now, and it's like he's so happy all the time. He's in a good mood all the time. He's taking vacations. He's taking time off. He's enjoying his life. He's spending time with his wife.
That's
he's,
awesome.
Posting cool stuff online about his kids. He's just in a good place. And I think that that's all attitude.
Right.
Right? Because we all have that decision. Do I quit or do I stick it out?
Because there's going to be that point.
Right. And as we bring this thing in for a landing, I want to kind of leave it here. You're a football guy.
Just
started. Day in and day out, a big football guy. Vince is a big football guy. Would you like to see this guy coming at you full speed ahead? He's laughing. It's actually making him excited. But he's a big man. I think I can eat a lot, and he crushed me. But But here's the deal, you know, and even in football, right? Football season just started. We're just getting that rolling.
Mm-hmm.
How many guys crumble under the pressure? How many guys crumble in the game? How many guys crumble? How many first round, you know, picks don't even make it year one, don't even last 4 years, don't get a contract renewal? I think it was 75% of quarterbacks, first round draft pick quarterbacks, didn't get a contract renewal.
Right. It's huge. It's amazing.
It's huge.
Yeah.
The numbers are crazy. How many guys crumble? What kind of guy are you? What kind of gal are you? Do you crumble under pressure? Or do you man up?
Full circle. Attitude.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you take that full speed ahead and say, I'm not going to quit?
Yeah. Persevere for sure.
I'm not going to quit. I'm going to run more stairs. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do more two-a-days.
Or burpees.
I'm going to hone my... Oh, burpees. I did 10 burpees last week. I felt it for 2 days. Don't do burpees in your 40s. Don't even think about them in your 50s. And if you're doing them in your 60s, DM me. I want to become friends with you. You're a savage.
No kidding. Wow.
Anyways, you want to build $1 million business, you got to have an attitude. Your attitude's got to be on point. Your team's attitude's got to be on point, and you got to flush out those who don't make it. You know, you look at what they go through in the NFL. You look at what happens in training camp. You know what they're doing? They're flushing those guys out. They're having serious conversations. They're diving into their backgrounds. They're diving into who they are because they're spending millions of dollars, and there's billions of dollars on the line in the NFL. And so, you know, you want to treat your business that same way. You want to have that attitude. Anything to add before we leave?
No, I just love this story about you shared about Mark and the ups and downs. You know, it's that perseverance.
Yeah.
That's the attitude and the perseverance. Ride the persevere.
It's awesome.
Yeah. That's a great story.
This is Vince and Dave Live. If you've enjoyed this, check us out. Check out transbluefranchise.com. If you want to chat about business, if you want to chat about guys with a bad attitude, if you want to talk about, you know, anything that you've got going on, we're happy to just pick up the phone and chat. You can find me on LinkedIn. Right, David Wescott on LinkedIn. Just look for my face, right? You can't miss it. Vince Ortiz on LinkedIn. Follow us, give us a like. If you like this, share it, follow it, you know, pass it along. And if there's anything you'd love us to chat about, you know, bring it up. We'd love to chat about it. Anything else before we close?
No, I think it was a great topic, Dave.
It was an awesome time. I had a great time with you today.
Yeah, same here, bro.
I'm going to rate this a 10. Hey, we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.